Hey everyone, this is Six Path Weeb, and today we continue a journey into the unknown. In this episode of What If Naruko Chose Solitude? Part 2, we step deeper into a world where one decision reshapes everything. What happens when bonds are broken before they can be formed? What paths open when isolation becomes strength? And perhaps, weakness? Quick disclaimer before we begin, all anime footage belongs to their rightful creators and copyright holders. This content is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes only. With that said, let's step into the story. You have become a very good sister. This thought lingered in Sasuke Uchiha's mind as he reflected on the countless moments he had witnessed Naruko's growth. She had transformed greatly from the girl she once was. Her strength rivals my own. While I may not believe she surpasses me, she is certainly on my level. This is not the same Naruko I once knew as the so-called last place in our class. To Sasuke, Naruko had always been like the sister he wished Itachi could have been. After Itachi left the village, Sasuke was left with emptiness and solitude. Most people annoyed him with their lack of awareness, and he quickly grew distant. His classmates often mistook his high standards for arrogance, but Sasuke simply struggled to find people he truly respected. Everything began to shift when Naruko joined Team 7 alongside him. She really has come such a long way from that little girl who once seemed so restless. At first, Sasuke disliked Naruko, convinced she would never rise above her old reputation. But his view changed after their mission with Zabuza. In that moment, he recognized Naruko's hidden potential. She was a shinobi capable of great things, a Jonin whose abilities already leaned toward that of a Chunin. Team 7 has grown strong. Naruko and I possess considerable skill, though Sakura still struggles. Her control over chakra is impressive, but without combat experience, it cannot carry her far. Since that day, Sasuke had considered Naruko his rival. Though on the surface they often clashed, he knew their rivalry was born from mutual respect, a bond between two warriors who shared the same battlefield. Naruko's energy always pushed Sasuke to train harder, even if her vibrant optimism sometimes wore on his patience. Perhaps I was the only one who realized her cheerfulness was partly a mask. Everyone sees now that she has carried burdens in her heart. In that way, we are alike, we have both wrestled with shadows inside us. Sasuke understood that Naruko's joy often hid her struggles. Though she held on to frustration and pain, she never unleashed it upon the village. Instead, she carried it quietly, with determination. Sasuke chose not to confront her about it, fearing it might deepen her struggles. He believed their friendship could grow stronger in time. One day, I will challenge her to a match. That will be a battle worth remembering. I should continue to refine my Sharingan before that time comes. Just as Sasuke's thoughts cleared, he noticed Naruko passing by below, heading toward the village. That was close. If I had been less careful, she might have noticed me watching. Naruko, meanwhile, returned to the village to rest before her training match with Kakashi. Over the past few days, she had grown more proficient in ninjutsu and taijutsu, though genjutsu still remained her weakest area, a fact she openly admitted. Perhaps I should stop for ramen before heading home. Hopefully, the Kyuubi won't bother me tonight. I'll need a proper rest if I'm facing Kakashi-sensei tomorrow. After enjoying a meal, Naruko peacefully made her way home. She was beginning to appreciate moments when people left her alone, even though she knew many still pictured her as the same mischievous girl in the bright orange jumpsuit. Tomorrow is the day. I'll show Kakashi-sensei just how much stronger I've become. After that, a few days of rest before the Chunin exams begin will be welcome. As she drifted toward sleep, she remembered something. That's right, I promised Anko a day in the forest of training. You mean a date, don't you? The Kyuubi teased from within. Naruko blushed faintly at the remark. No, Kyuubi, it's just training. Don't twist it. Don't call me silly names. I am the great Kyuubi. Still, you think she's interesting, don't you? Naruko's mind wandered briefly, picturing what it might be like to spend more time with Anko. She quickly shook the thoughts away, embarrassed. I knew it, the Kyuubi chuckled. She's caught your attention, much like Sakura once did. Naruko frowned at the mention of Sakura. No, that was different. Back then, I was too naive to understand my own feelings. Now, I've grown wiser and more thoughtful. The Kyuubi hummed. Yes, you have matured. I can sense it. But tell me, why do you feel connected to this Anko? Naruko paused. After a moment, she spoke with sincerity. I respect her because her journey is similar to mine. I've observed things others overlook, and I know how deeply she's been misunderstood. People treat her unfairly because of her past with Orochimaru, Yet she isn't defined by that. She's strong, kind in her own way, and she carries pain the village doesn't see. I can understand her because I've felt that kind of loneliness too. The Kyuubi grew quiet, thoughtful at Naruko's words. I admire Anko because we both understand what it means to carry hardship. Challenges are often seen as burdens, but they can also be a source of strength. Hardship has shaped my life, and it is part of why I connect with Anko and why I consider Sasuke a brother. Kyuubi decided that Naruko needed rest, and with that, it withdrew from her mind, returning to its shadowed confinement. I suppose Kyuubi has decided to leave me in peace for now, Naruko thought, sinking into a deep, restful slumber. She spent some time envisioning the coming days, eager to demonstrate her growth to Kakashi and excited to spend time with Anko afterward. The connection she felt to hardship explained only part of her admiration for Anko, the rest remained a mystery, something she was still discovering. Surprises had always been unsettling for Naruko, especially since the revelation of Kyuubi's presence and the unsettling reactions of the villagers had taught her to expect the unexpected. Yet, for the first time in a long while, she drifted into sleep feeling genuinely happy and anticipating what lay ahead in her journey as a shinobi. The next morning, Naruko awoke from a peaceful dream, one of the first since her graduation from the academy. Life had often felt chaotic and isolating, as she struggled to connect with others and was treated differently because of the power sealed within her. Despite this, she remained composed outwardly, while processing her feelings privately. Normally, mornings brought reluctance, but today was different. Today, she felt purposeful. An hour later, Naruko moved swiftly toward the training grounds, ready to spar with Kakashi. She did not know what challenges awaited her or how much Kakashi understood about her abilities. She was aware that Kakashi possessed skills she might never fully master, but she also knew her own growth and determination had reached new heights. I hope Kakashi can see how much I've grown, Naruko thought, leaping effortlessly between buildings at a pace that even some Onbu might struggle to follow. I've matured, and I'm ready to embrace my path as a shinobi fully. At the training grounds, Kakashi stood in front of a memorial honoring those who had dedicated their lives to the village. A familiar chakra signature approached, and he prepared himself for the arrival of the determined shinobi he knew so well. As expected, Naruko arrived moments later, her presence calm yet resolute. She preferred facing challenges head-on rather than with subterfuge. Kakashi noted a change in her expression. Naruko, your eyes seem different. What's the story there? He asked. These are the eyes of someone determined to prove herself, she replied simply. Kakashi observed closely. Her pupils remained dark, but an orange ring now circled the center, a subtle, yet noticeable change. Are you ready to spar seriously? Kakashi asked. Absolutely, Naruko responded with a bright, confident smile. I'm approaching this with full determination. Kakashi tensed slightly. She really means it this time, he thought. All right then. Let's begin. The sparring session. Naruko and Kakashi faced each other across the field. Kakashi, careful and experienced, waited for her to make the first move. Naruko wasted no time, throwing 2 shurikens with precision. As expected, her style has evolved, though some traits, like her eagerness, remain the same, Kakashi considered, countering quickly with 3 shurikens of his own. Naruko dodged with skill, both of them assessing each other carefully, analyzing movements, and predicting intentions. She's gauging my approach. Clever, Kakashi thought. Naruko seized a moment to advance, attempting a sweeping move, which Kakashi narrowly avoided. Using her momentum, she executed a series of acrobatic attacks, and Kakashi responded in kind, creating a rapid exchange of movements that tested both skill and reflexes. Naruko formed a cross with her fingers and called forth. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 4 shadow clones appeared alongside her, attacking simultaneously. Kakashi swiftly engaged them, neutralizing each with careful technique, while the real Naruko quietly positioned herself in a treetop, planning her next move. She prepared a kunai, enhancing its shape and control with precise chakra manipulation before launching it. Kakashi anticipated the trajectory and dodged, yet a clever twist allowed Naruko to subtly touch him with a harmless but precise strike, making him notice her growth. Naruko retrieved her kunai effortlessly, a small smile of satisfaction crossing her face. Impressive, Kakashi said, adjusting his hit I-8 to reveal his Sharingan. I see that you've really improved. Kakashi smiled and quickly launched into action. He aimed a kick at Naruko's chest, but she blocked it skillfully with her arms. Kakashi followed with a rapid sequence of punches and kicks. Naruko managed to dodge most of them until Kakashi feigned a punch and landed a swift kick against her, causing her to stumble backward. She quickly regained her balance and stood upright, ready to continue. The two began trading blows, each landing a successful strike after a series of exchanges. For Naruko, this was a challenging test of agility and strategy. She had to keep up with Kakashi to avoid being overwhelmed. For Kakashi, it was a playful test to gauge how much Naruko had improved. She was performing well in taijutsu, and Kakashi was preparing to combine it with ninjutsu. With one swift kick, Kakashi sent Naruko airborne. He leapt onto a nearby riverbank and quickly formed a sequence of 44 hand seals, starting with ox and ending with rooster. Suten, Suryudan no Jutsu. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. A giant water dragon emerged behind Kakashi, shooting 4 powerful water projectiles toward the falling Naruko. She realized that even one strike could put her at a disadvantage. Thinking quickly, she formed her own hand signs and released a stream of water from her mouth. Suten, Suijin Heki. Water release, water encampment wall. Naruko surrounded herself with a defensive wall of water, deflecting the incoming projectiles. The defense required a considerable amount of her chakra, but she swiftly adapted her strategy. Suten, Suihachi. Water release, hand of waves. She directed the remaining water from her wall and hands toward Kakashi. He moved with practiced speed, dodging the attack, then returned to the surface and began forming additional hand seals. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow clone technique. 2 Kakashi clones appeared. Naruko reacted quickly, engaging both in close combat. It took effort, but she managed to overcome the clones. Despite her stamina, she began to feel fatigued. Facing Kakashi with a mix of taijutsu and ninjutsu was no simple task. She reminded herself to manage her chakra carefully, knowing Kakashi's Jonin level power exceeded her own Chunin level abilities. Kakashi advanced again, but Naruko adjusted her strategy. I'll give this everything I have, she thought. These next moves will count. Futon, Daitapa. Wind release, great breakthrough. A powerful gust of wind surged from Naruko, sweeping across the battlefield toward Kakashi. She could barely see through the intensity of her own attack. When she looked up, Kakashi was nowhere to be seen. Unknown to her, Kakashi had used Doden, Dachu Aigyo no Jutsu, Earth Release, Underground Move Jutsu, to move beneath the surface. Naruko quickly adapted. Futon, Senpuken. Wind Release, Whirlwind Fist. Striking the ground, she created a small whirlwind that disrupted the earth beneath her. Kakashi's clone appeared for a moment, but she quickly realized it wasn't the real Kakashi. Yield, Naruko, Kakashi called, suddenly appearing behind her, holding a kunai in a non-threatening manner to signal her to pause. Alright, good match, Kakashi-sensei, Naruko admitted with a smile, knowing she had given her best effort. Kakashi lowered the kunai and replaced his Hidai 8 over his Sharingan. It was an excellent match, he said. You demonstrated clever strategies and combined your jutsu skillfully. Using the whirlwind fist while I was underground was particularly impressive. You made me work hard to keep up. Naruko felt a warm sense of accomplishment. Even though she hadn't fully landed a strong blow on him, her techniques had been recognized and praised. Naruko, you deserve some rest, Kakashi continued, but there's something you need to know before you return to your team. Naruko sat down, bracing herself. Now that your training is complete, it's time for you to rejoin Team 7, Kakashi explained. Naruko frowned slightly. She had hoped for more time to refine her skills alone, but she understood the importance of teamwork. There may not be many missions until the Chunin exams, Kakashi added. You'll mostly meet with your teammates during morning briefings until then. But Kakashi-sensei, how do you know when the exams start? She asked. Kakashi hesitated, then replied, I wasn't supposed to know, but I was informed to help plan for your training completion. The exams are approaching, likely within a day or two. Naruko looked into his eyes. The faint orange ring around them intrigued her. She speculated about its origin but decided now wasn't the right time to investigate. Rest well, Naruko, Kakashi said, and prepare for what comes next. You did exceptionally today. With that, he vanished in a swirl of leaves, leaving Naruko sitting quietly. She sighed. I landed a few hits, but there's still so much to learn. I need to rest and recover before the Chunin exams. My body feels completely worn out. Slowly, Naruko made her way back to her apartment, reflecting on her growth and the challenges yet to come. At the Hokage's office report, said the Hokage. Kakashi entered the Hokage's office, and Sarutobi observed with keen interest, curious about the details of the report. The training has been highly successful, Hokage-sama. Naruko has developed into a capable shinobi, Kakashi announced. That is excellent to hear, Kakashi. How much progress has she achieved? She is currently at a low to mid-level chunin across most areas, with the exception of genjutsu, where she shows little development. She primarily needs to learn techniques to counter such abilities. I may have slightly overestimated her growth initially. She leans more toward mid-level chunin rather than high level as I previously estimated. That is quite satisfactory, Kakashi. The progress from her previous rank as a Genin to mid-level chunin is remarkable. Both Naruko and I are grateful for your guidance. Before I leave, Hokage-sama, there is something unusual I observed. During sparring, Naruko exhibited an orange ring around her pupils. It appeared and disappeared under certain circumstances. I cannot identify its origin. Sarutobi frowned in thought. Could it be a family trait or a new technique Naruko is developing? Those are possibilities, Kakashi replied. Alternatively, it might be related to the Kyuubi's chakra influencing her abilities. However, during our spar, Naruko did not draw upon the Kyuubi's chakra, which suggests she was testing her own strength independently. Fascinating, Sarutobi mused. Naruko is intelligent, but she would need more development to control the Kyuubi's chakra in such a precise manner. This is certainly worth monitoring in the future. Indeed, Hokage-sama, Kakashi said. That concludes my report. Excellent work, Kakashi. You are dismissed. With a swirl of leaves, Kakashi vanished, leaving the Hokage deep in thought about Naruko's mysterious progress. At Naruko's apartment, Naruko returned home, exhausted from the sparring session with Kakashi. Though strong, her opponent had proven to be a formidable challenge, and she felt frustrated at not landing any decisive moves. Naruko, may I ask something? The Kyuubi inquired. Naruko sighed. I wanted to test my own abilities without using your chakra. I know what I can do with your power, now I wanted to see my independent potential. The Kyuubi started another question, but Naruko had already fallen asleep, snoring lightly. The beast considered waking her but decided she needed rest, especially for the upcoming engagement with Anko. The next morning at the usual Team 7 meeting spot, the bridge Naruko arrived at the bridge, aware that Kakashi would likely summon her in preparation for the upcoming chunin exams. Her teammates were not yet present. She noticed Sakura nearby, immediately recognizing the familiar pink hair and the slight tension in her posture. Sakura observed Naruko approaching. You've changed your attire. You look intimidating, but I doubt you could harm anything, she remarked playfully. Naruko ignored the comment, retreating into her thoughts. She regarded the distraction as inconsequential, focusing instead on her own preparation and reflecting on her training progress. Kyuubi, I need something to occupy my mind for the next few minutes, she said quietly. Perhaps we can discuss your plans later today with Anko in the Forest of Death, the Kyuubi suggested, emphasizing the words playfully. It's not a date, Naruko said, shaking her head. We're just meeting as allies, nothing more. She's an outsider like me, that's all. But you could make it more than a casual meeting, the Kyuubi teased. Naruko sighed. Conversations with the Kyuubi were always lively, if unpredictable, but she valued the insight it occasionally provided. Naruko opened her eyes to see that Sasuke had arrived as well. Kakashi appeared shortly afterward, a few minutes later. Well, team, it seems like we're in better spirits today. And look what we have here, a familiar face returning to the squad, Kakashi said with a hint of humor in his voice. Sakura and Sasuke glanced at Naruko, who was still seated on the bridge. Suddenly, a brown hawk swooped overhead, calling loudly. Just as I expected, Kakashi remarked. He reached into his pocket and handed each member of the team a form. These are for the chunin exams. Soon, rival ninjas from other villages will send their genin to compete in this test. Fill these out and return them by tomorrow if you wish to participate. If not, you may continue with lower-ranked missions, but the rest of your team will also remain as genin. All 3 members of the team had already made up their minds. Each had their own reasons for wanting to take the exam, but all shared the determination to try. All right, you're dismissed, Kakashi said. As soon as the words left his mouth, both Naruko and Sasuke departed without a word, leaving a surprised Sakura on the bridge alone. When did Naruko become so reserved? Is she just trying to be more like Sasuke? Sakura wondered. No matter, Sasuke will always have my attention. Sakura skipped away, imagining a bright future with Sasuke. Training ground number 44, Forest of Challenges. Naruko had returned home to secure her exam form before heading to the Forest of Challenges. The journey took about an hour, most of which was spent enjoying a quick meal at Ichiraku's. Standing at the entrance to the forest, she paused to consider what lay ahead. Suddenly, a familiar presence appeared nearby. "So, you've finally arrived," Anko said, her voice playful. "I was beginning to wonder how long it would take you. Don't keep a fellow ninja waiting, especially one as energetic as yourself." Before Naruko could respond, Anko stepped closer with a grin. Two small, harmless training creatures slithered playfully around Naruko's midsection. Startled, Naruko leapt back, trying to shake them off. "Ah! Get them off me, they're tickling me," Naruko exclaimed, laughing despite her surprise. Anko giggled at Naruko's reaction. "I just wanted to surprise you. I didn't expect such a dramatic response. I thought you'd stay calm and collected." Naruko straightened up, brushing herself off. "That wasn't very fair." "Apologies aren't my style," Anko teased, still smiling. Naruko decided it was better to move on than argue further. "Shall we continue inside?" "You're eager, aren't you?" Anko replied with a light chuckle. She jumped over the gate first, with Naruko following closely behind. "We won't go too far in," Anko explained seriously. "I want to make sure you stay safe from unexpected obstacles." Naruko nodded, understanding. Perhaps another opportunity will come for more advanced training. As they explored the forest, they encountered a few creatures, each challenge helping Anko gauge Naruko's abilities. After a few hours, they paused on two tree branches facing each other. Anko took the left branch, Naruko the right. "So, Anko," Naruko began after a moment of silence, "why do you want to be friends with me? Not many people choose friendship these days." Anko thought for a moment before replying, "We've faced similar struggles. The village didn't always accept me because of my past, just as it has been difficult for you." Naruko noticed a hint of emotion in Anko's eyes, emotion she hadn't intended to show. "My former sensei left the village to pursue personal ambitions," Anko continued softly. "He used his position to conduct experiments that were difficult for me to endure. I respected him, but his choices hurt many of us." Naruko listened, feeling a deep empathy for Anko. "It's all right. We'll find a way to overcome challenges like this, together," she said confidently. Anko's expression softened, and the two shared a quiet moment, sitting peacefully on their branches. Eventually, they returned to the forest entrance and climbed back over the gate. "Thank you for helping me work through that," Anko said sincerely. "It's unusual to admit, but it helps to have a friend." "That's what friends are for," Naruko replied warmly. "I should get going, it's getting late." "Goodbye, Naruko. See you soon," Anko said with a smile. She didn't know how soon she would see him again, if she managed to get through the first part of the exam with a Viki. Knowing her, she probably would. Anko shook herself out of her thoughts and realized that Naruko had wandered off. "It's all right," Anko thought. "I shared a lot with her, and she understood. She's a true friend, one of the few I have. Plus, we have so much in common." Back in Konoha, the next day at the Team 7 meeting spot. All three Genin were gathered, waiting for Kakashi, who had returned to his old position and was running a little late. A few minutes past the expected time, Kakashi arrived. "You're late," Sakura exclaimed. Kakashi noted that Sakura was still quick to express her frustration, but Naruko remained quiet. It was a subtle sign of how much Naruko had matured while Sakura still retained her youthful impulsiveness. "I apologize," Kakashi said with a small smirk. "One of my eyes wouldn't cooperate this morning, it caused a bit of a delay." He let the joke linger briefly before adopting a more serious tone. "All right, do you have your registration forms ready?" All three Genin handed their completed forms to Kakashi. "Excellent. The exams begin tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. You are dismissed." Kakashi vanished in a puff of smoke, and the three Genin went their separate ways, each carrying a quiet excitement in their steps. From the outside, it seemed like an ordinary day, but each of them was immersed in their own routines. Sakura spent time with Ino, enjoying some girl things and shopping. Sasuke returned to the Uchiha compound, dedicating himself to training and improving his skills. Meanwhile, Naruko found herself atop the railing of Hokage Mountain, gazing down at the bustling village. From her high vantage point, the villagers looked like tiny figures moving through a vast, colorful world. She noticed countless stories unfolding below, lives intersecting in ways she could only imagine. As night fell, All 3 Jinan retired early to ensure they were fully rested for the exam the following day. Time skip, midnight. The clock struck 12, and the Hidden Leaf village lay quiet under the night sky. The village guards were well rested, thanks to the peace maintained during the Chunin exams. A treaty among the villages ensured that no one would cause disturbances. Everyone slept soundly, except for one Jinan perched quietly atop the roof near her team's lodgings. Naruko's abilities were remarkable for her age, yet sleep eluded her. She stared at the crescent moon hanging high above, lost in thought. "Mother," she whispered softly to herself, "the task you entrusted me with will soon be fulfilled." Naruko woke up at 7 a.m. She knew that she was supposed to meet her team outside the first examination building at 7:30. After preparing a quick bowl of instant ramen, she hurried off to the building where the first examination would be held. "I'm confident I can handle the challenges ahead. Sasuke should do well too, but I'm a little concerned about Sakura. She's confident in her abilities, but she still has room to grow. Hopefully, our team can support each other and succeed together." Meanwhile, Tamari was walking with her 2 brothers. One was chatting with her, while the other was distracted by various sights around the village of Konoha. "How do you think we'll perform against the other genins?" asked Kankuro. "We'll do well," Tamari replied calmly. "Our team is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, among the Jinan teams this year. The other teams from Konoha will likely be our biggest competition." Tamari glanced at her brother Gaara. Though powerful on his own, he tended to act independently and focused on his own progress. First examination building, 7:45 a.m. By now, all the genins had gathered with their teams and made their way into the building. They were instructed to meet in room 3.01. However, as Naruko approached, guards blocked the entrance. "Sorry, no one may enter this room at the moment," one guard explained politely. "But our Jinan exam is scheduled in this room," protested a confused Jinan. "I apologize, but entry is not permitted," another guard added. Naruko observed the scene carefully. What's going on here? She wondered. She and Sasuke realized at the same time, this must be a genjutsu. Naruko decided to make the exam a bit more challenging for everyone. She focused and released a large amount of chakra. "Release," she said aloud. Suddenly, the room returned to normal. The guards were gone, and it became clear that everyone had been on the wrong floor. They were actually on the 4th floor, not the 3rd. What was Naruko doing? She made everyone experience a genjutsu. Clever. Sasuke thought, slightly annoyed but intrigued by her ingenuity. Team 7, along with the other genins, descended the side stairs to the 3rd floor where the exam was taking place. Inside room 3.01. The genins had gathered in a large waiting room, some sitting and some standing. Several shinobi were examining and counting shuriken and kunai to ensure that everything was prepared. Others were quietly meditating or conversing. Naruko noticed a purple-haired Jinan sitting on the floor with a set of blank cards. He would touch a card with his finger, and it would spin, revealing details about another Jinan. Curious, Naruko approached him. "What are you doing with those cards?" she asked. "I can provide information on other Jinan," the boy explained. "By focusing chakra into a card, I can reveal a person's abilities, skills, and elemental affinities." "Alright, let's see. How about Sasuke Uchiha?" The boy focused on a card, which spun and then displayed Sasuke's profile. Sasuke possesses mid-level Chunin chakra, with well-rounded skills in various ninja arts. His abilities are impressive, and he has a unique Sharingan skill that makes him a formidable opponent. How did he gather all this information? Naruko wondered as she thanked the boy. "By the way, what's your name?" she asked. "Kabuto Yakashi," he replied. Naruko made a mental note of his name before returning to her team, which was waiting quietly in a corner. Sakura sat near Sasuke, who had his eyes closed in concentration. Minutes passed peacefully until a commotion erupted from another part of the room. 2 shinobi, one from Otogakure and another from Kirigakure, had accidentally collided and began a minor scuffle. A man wearing a Chunin vest appeared from behind a door. He was clearly one of the exam proctors. "First, no fighting is allowed outside of the examinations. Anyone caught in such behavior will be disqualified from the exams," he announced firmly. The 2 shinobi returned to their teams, grumbling softly. "Secondly, the next stage of the exam will take place in the next room. Once you enter, you may not exit unless you are disqualified or unable to continue for valid reasons." Several Jinan exchanged nervous glances at the word disqualified. The exam you were about to take was a written assessment consisting of 20 questions. The first part contained 19 questions, while the final question would be administered separately by Vicky Moreno, with only 10 minutes allotted for completion. Many ninja initially thought the exam would be straightforward, until they heard the next announcement. The challenge is that every question must be answered correctly to pass. You need a perfect score of 20 out of 20 to proceed to the next stage. To maintain fairness, 5 additional chunin will be monitoring the room at all times to ensure no one attempts dishonesty, explained one of the proctors, his expression calm yet firm. Naruko muttered under her breath, I really dislike written exams. I hope I can figure this out. Relax, Naruko, I have a plan, another genin whispered reassuringly. The genins filed into their assigned seats, while some began quietly preparing for the exam. Among them was a genin with sunglasses and a high-collared jacket. Once all the students were seated, a proctor signaled the start. Shino Aburame flipped over his exam paper. The first 10 questions were basic and designed to test fundamental knowledge that any shinobi should possess. The next 10, however, were considerably more challenging and would require strategy and cleverness to complete within the time remaining before the final question. This must be a test of stealth and information gathering, Shino thought. Vicky Moreno is known for interrogation and observation. This is likely a test of deception and strategy. He discreetly sent a small insect out to gather information, which returned to relay the answers Shino needed. So they've placed knowledgeable genins here as part of the test. Clever. I might as well review these answers and stay calm. At the back of the room, Shikamaru had already been resting for 15 minutes. He had deduced that this was a test of cunning and patience, waiting for the kunoichi in front of him to reveal her strategy before carefully observing her methods. Proctors patrolled the room like hawks. Several genins had already been removed for attempting dishonesty, escorted politely from the exam room. Suddenly, a noise erupted from the back, drawing the attention of one of the proctors. Number 56, you have not passed, Genma announced. But my pencil just disappeared, the startled genin stammered. The teammates of number 56 may leave with them. Next time, please refrain from using tricks like invisible pencils, Genma said firmly. The genin left the room protesting quietly, feeling unfairly caught in the situation. About 10 minutes later, the door opened sharply, and a tall, tan man with several facial scars stepped to the front. I am giving you the option to attempt the final question of the exam. The decision is yours alone. A murmur spread through the room. Many genins wondered what the last question could entail and whether they would be able to answer it successfully. However, if you choose not to attempt it, your entire team will be required to leave immediately, he continued. The tension in the room intensified. Some genins worried about whether their teammates would support them, while others questioned their ability to answer the final challenge. If anyone does not wish to attempt the last question, you may leave now. But be warned, missing the final question will prevent you from advancing beyond the genin stage. One by one, some genins left. About 30 teams remained, ready to face the concluding challenge. Vicky waited until the last students had made their decisions. Congratulations! You have successfully completed the first stage of the chunin exams. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room. Some genins slumped in exhaustion, while others met with their teammates to celebrate quietly. So, Sasuke-kun, we've made it past the first stage. Are you excited? Sakura asked brightly. No, I expected we would pass, Sasuke replied calmly. Sakura, still eager to release her nervous energy, looked around for someone to talk to. She glanced at Naruko, who was quietly focused on resting for a moment. On the other side of the room, Tenten smiled at her teammates. We're one step closer to showing our skills as the top genin team. Yes. Our energy and determination shine brighter than anyone else here, Lee exclaimed enthusiastically, earning a mix of amusement and exasperation from the others. Neji observed quietly, analyzing his peers carefully. He knew the competition was fierce this year and was determined to use every insight to lead his team to success. 3 minutes later, the glass suddenly shattered, and a blur entered the classroom through the broken window. Everyone immediately turned their attention toward the commotion. Shikamaru was fully awake now, Naruko opened her eyes from meditation, and Sasuke finally stopped ignoring Sakura to watch what was happening. The blur revealed itself to be Anko Mitarashi. Behind her, a banner read, "The most dynamic and skilled jonin, Anko Mitarashi, proctor of the second chunin exam." Anko checked that the banner was perfectly in place and that everything was in order. She glanced at Aviki, who sat with his face in his hands. "All right, everyone," Anko announced, You may have found Iviki's exam challenging, but he's been softer lately. Don't assume my exam will be easy. Many of you will face real challenges before my section ends. Anko scanned the room, assessing the potential Chunin candidates. She noticed several clan leaders, including the last Uchiha, then sensed a strong aura from a red-haired child from the Sand Village. Finally, her gaze settled on her favorite, the blonde, energetic, and determined ninja, Naruko. With her instructions given, Anko disappeared back through the window, telling the Jinan to meet her outside for the next part of the examination. Wow, I really admire her, Kyubi murmured inside Naruko's mind. I can hear you, Kyubi, Naruko replied calmly. I know you can, but she's impressive, powerful, confident, and capable. That's all I could admire, Kyubi said, almost as if daydreaming. Naruko ignored the commentary. I just see Anko as a mentor and friend. Let's focus on the task ahead. As the Jinan walked toward Anko, Naruko observed her peers. Their walk revealed their confidence. Sasuke moved with quiet assurance, certain of his abilities. Hinata kept her gaze low, determined to quietly pass the exam without error. Eventually, the group arrived at the Forest of Challenge. Naruko's eyes lit up while others stared in awe at the tall fences and the creatures roaming within. This is where the second part of your exam will take place, Anko explained. You'll spend 5 days inside the Forest of Challenge. Your goal is to obtain 2 scrolls, 1 Heaven Scroll and 1 Earth Scroll. Each team starts with a scroll, and your task is to acquire the other scroll by strategy and skill. Use your abilities wisely to succeed. The Jinan exchanged nervous glances, aware that the forest posed many challenges. Anko continued, there will be wild animals and dangerous plants. Pay close attention to what you encounter. When you acquire both scrolls, you must bring them to the tower at the center of the forest. Only there can you open the scrolls to receive your next instructions. Any team opening their scrolls early will be disqualified. Anko walked over to the table where Genma and Kotetsu stood and began handing out the scrolls discreetly. Gaara, known for his sharp mind, immediately activated his third eye to monitor which teams received which scrolls. He had learned to rely on his intelligence and strategy from growing up with few friends, mastering techniques through observation and careful planning. 10 minutes later, Team 7 approached the table. While Naruko and Sasuke were indifferent about who would carry the scroll, Sakura insisted that Sasuke, being the strongest, should take the responsibility. Anko handed them an earth scroll and reminded them of the risks ahead. As Naruko turned to leave, Anko stopped her. Promise me you'll navigate the Forest of Challenge safely. Don't worry, Anko. I'll handle it, Naruko replied confidently. I'm more concerned about others facing unexpected challenges, like that red-haired child from the sand. Anko smiled and gently nudged her. Just be careful, and have fun. Naruko blushed slightly, her internal companion Kyubi buzzing excitedly in her mind. She quickly composed herself, putting on her determined mask as the Jinan were led to the gates, each marked with bold red numbers. The gates opened, signaling the start of the second stage of the exam, and the teams entered the Forest of Challenge to face the trials ahead. Forest of Challenges, Examination Number 2. All the Jinan teams had successfully entered the outer perimeter of the Forest of Challenges. They hadn't yet ventured into the deeper areas where hazardous plants and tricky terrain could slow them down, but they were far enough in to begin carefully navigating the forest. Team 10 moved cautiously, relying on Shikamaru's strategic mind to guide them. We should set up near the edge of the forest, Shikamaru explained thoughtfully. That way, we can study the plants and herbs here safely, rest when needed, and plan a careful approach if we encounter another team. Most teams will be tired from traveling and searching, then is the best time to make a clever move. Huji and Ino were pleased by the plan, excited to conserve their energy and support the team when it really mattered on day 4. Meanwhile, Team 7 had a different objective, reach the safe house quickly to secure their next opportunity in the exam. Naruko, leading the team with her boundless energy, moved determinedly through the forest toward its center, ready for whatever challenge awaited. Let's set up near the base of this tree, Sasuke suggested calmly. We can prepare some clever obstacles here. Sakura, help set up a few traps. This will keep our approach safe and organized. Sakura's face lit up with excitement. Finally, she could contribute in a meaningful way, focusing on her skills in setting up traps while the others strategized. Naruko, however, was clearly very capable, her energy and strength making her a formidable teammate. Despite this, she trusted her friends to handle specific tasks, Sakura's precision, Sasuke's planning, and her own ability to support and protect the team when needed. As teams continued through the forest, The Sand siblings encountered a team from the Grass Village who were still learning how to navigate such a challenging environment. "Give us the scroll, and we'll cooperate peacefully," Kankuro suggested confidently. "We want to continue with honor," replied one of the Grass Village Jinan, showing determination despite their inexperience. Gaara stepped forward, using his skill with sand to gently immobilize the team and secure the scroll they carried. The siblings quickly and efficiently guided the group aside, taking the scroll without causing harm. Tamari observed quietly, impressed by her brother's precision and control. Team 8 had an advantage as trackers. Shino's careful use of insects allowed them to locate and guide weaker teams to the appropriate checkpoints, securing their scrolls with minimal effort. Everything was progressing smoothly for the tracking team. By nightfall, all teams were resting. Most had made it safely to their chosen camp areas, while the Sand siblings had already reached the safe house in record time. Gaara sat quietly on the roof, gazing at the stars and reflecting on his journey. Though he often appeared serious, he secretly wished for companionship and the freedom to enjoy life without constant responsibility. Day 2, Forest of Challenges. Naruko woke early, eager to practice and improve her skills. Before she could begin, a group of Jinan from Kirigakure approached, hoping to challenge her team. Naruko smiled confidently. "Let's see what you've got." With a few clever moves, she created a soft mist that gently obscured the area, giving her team a tactical advantage. Using her clones to coordinate the effort, Naruko carefully guided the Kirigakure Jinan into a safe area, secured the scroll they carried, and returned them to a neutral location, ensuring the exam could continue smoothly without unfair advantage. Sakura, who had been half awake nearby, saw the careful and disciplined manner in which Naruko handled the situation, impressed by her skill and composure. Meanwhile, Team 8 had located their targets, using Shino's tracking skills to secure their scroll efficiently. With all objectives completed, they began heading to the safe house for the next set of instructions, confident in their progress. Team 10 was still waiting near the edge of the Forest of Death, conserving their energy while keeping watch. One Jinan stayed alert, while the other two took a brief rest. Kuji, ever mindful, was snacking on chips while keeping an eye out for any intruders who might approach their scroll. Meanwhile, Team Guy, Team 9, had made it safely to the hideout early in the morning. They had already crossed paths with the Sand siblings, which resulted in a tense but respectful standoff. Both Gaara and Neji maintained their pride, deciding to postpone any confrontation for another time. Sakura and Sasuke were waking up, noticing that Naruko was already active, performing exercises to stay agile. Seeing Sasuke awake, Naruko tossed him the earth scroll. "Here, take this and head to the safe house," she instructed confidently. Sasuke raised an eyebrow but accepted it. She must have encountered other shinobi during the night and handled it skillfully, he thought. Naruko is definitely someone to watch closely. She could very well be the strongest Jinan here next to me, but I'll see if I can match her in skill. Sakura, curious, asked, "How did you manage to get the scroll? I'm really interested." Naruko hesitated before answering, deciding to keep her exact tactics to herself. "I distracted them by creating a big illusion, and the scroll was left unattended. I took the opportunity," she explained simply. Sakura smiled, "That makes sense, considering you always find clever ways to handle challenges." Sasuke just gave a small sigh, clearly accustomed to Naruko's surprising resourcefulness. "Anyway," Naruko said, "we should start heading to the safe house. We don't want to encounter any unexpected obstacles along the way." Team 7 set off through the middle of the Forest of Death, eager to reach the safe house and avoid unnecessary distractions from the wildlife. 2 days later. 5 teams had already arrived at the safe house: Team 7, 8, and Team Guy from Konoha, 3 members of the Sound Village, and the Sand siblings from Suna. The remaining team was expected to arrive soon, though no one knew who it would be. Kiba asked his teammates, "Who do you think the last team will be?" Shino responded calmly, "It's down to 2 possibilities, the Needle Ninjas led by Shigure or Shikamaru, or Team 10. Hinata, lost in thought, reflected on her admiration for Naruko. "I'm so glad Naruko made it safely. She must have done something impressive in the Forest of Death. I wish she were on my team. Kiba is fine, but Naruko is inspiring. I hope I can learn from her." Kiba waved a hand in front of Hinata's face. "Hey, are you okay?" Startled, Hinata blushed. "Why yes, I'm fine," she stammered, gathering her composure. Soon, the last team arrived, Shikamaru's Team 10. Ino smiled warmly while Kuji continued snacking on chips. Shikamaru entered quietly, noting that 6 teams were now present. This is going to be quite a challenge, he thought, mentally preparing for the days ahead. The next day, preliminaries begin. Anko gathered all the Jinan in the arena where the preliminaries were set to take place. Alright, everyone. You've successfully completed the second stage of the exams. Now, we will begin the preliminaries to narrow the field down. We need to select the top 8 Jinan through one-on-one matches. The next round will take place in the Konoha arena, with representatives from other villages watching. Excitement buzzed through the group. Honor, pride, and advancement to Chunin rank were all at stake. Hayate was supposed to proctor these preliminaries, but he's unavailable, so I'll be in charge. The rules are simple. When your name appears on the screen, you'll face the opponent listed opposite you. The matches are unrestricted in terms of strategy, but remain within the arena. No dangerous tactics outside the bounds. We want a safe and fair competition, Anko said, casting a sharp glance at Gaara. Let's begin. Names will be drawn randomly, and you may face friends, allies, or teammates in these matches. The generator beeped, revealing the first pair of participants. Many Jinan gasped, realizing that a challenging match could come early. Some silently thanked their luck for avoiding the stronger competitors at the start. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support keeps the adventure alive. Until next time, keep chasing your passions and leveling up in life. Thank you. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.